I do. I think she's done absolutely a superb job.
This is John Kerry, who lost the 2004 election to George Bush. We're going to cover his hilariously incorrect election take for 2024. Most of the video is going to be the election night itself. We'll cover this one clip, though, first. Around 6 weeks before the election, he's talking about free speech.
People go to only one source, and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda, and they're putting out disinformation. Our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So what we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change. Now, obviously,
statements like that are just so creepy. They give me the chills. The First Amendment is a major block. Bro. Okay, now the majority of this video will be centered around this interview John Kerry gave to BBC News. This is on the election night itself.
Well, we can speak to another guest now. We can speak to former Secretary of State John Kerry and, of course, former Democratic presidential nominee himself in 2004. Thanks so much for being with us on BBC News.
Secretary, what do you think of the closing message that we've seen from Kamala Harris here? We know Donald Trump is asking people, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And if you look at the polling, a lot of people don't feel like they are. Do you believe that Kamala Harris has made a convincing final pitch to voters?
No.
I do. I think she's done absolutely a superb job. When you think of the challenge of coming in and
how can that be true? What was her message?
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Just a little more than 3 months. And by the way, for a lot of people in America, they're saying, isn't it great to have a 3-month campaign as you do in Britain? But I think that Kamala Harris has been appealing to people's best instincts. And Donald Trump has usually spent most of his time either banging a microphone or
How, though? What was Kamala's message? The word joy? Aside from that, how did she appeal to people's best instincts? Nobody still can explain what she wanted to do.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I know.
And so that would be one change
Yes.
in terms of.
Yes.
But also, I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And
faking having sex with it, which is an extraordinary thing for a candidate to be doing.
Be a little more subtle when explaining that, dude. Come on.
Speaking in, real trash talk. I mean, not where Americans want to go. The vast majority of Americans, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration, been through difficult times with inflation and other things. But right now it is clear that Kamala Harris is the one who's been speaking very specifically about a future that will come from specific steps, specific options. And obviously Donald Trump is
very specifically.
President Biden said this week that every president has to cut their own path. What is one policy that you would have done differently over these last 3.5 years than President Biden?
I mean, to be very candid with you even including Mike Pence, vice presidents are not critical of their presidents. I think that really actually, in terms of the tradition of it and also just going forward, it does not make for a productive and important relationship.
He's now given you that green light with his comments that you can carve your own path. So now that you have this ability to say that to be on your own?
Well, no, going forward, there is no question that I bring my own experiences and my own life experience.
been out there ranting and raging and using foul language, talking about having a dictatorship, talking about what he's going to do with health care, i.e. get rid of it. I mean,
get rid of it? He won. People still have health care. Get rid of it? What is he talking about?
I think they're just such opposites that it gives a lot of us high hopes that Americans are going to have heard this last week very differently between Donald Trump and and Kamala.
And
I think there's a very clear sense with Kamala that she is connecting to people he is not.
You're talking about appealing to opposites and so on. We've seen her really target hard Republican women in particular. Do you think, is there a constituency there who might be persuaded to pick country over party as she's been asking them to?
No.
Absolutely. I'm convinced of that. And I was in Pennsylvania for a couple of days over the weekend.
The women's vote, and you ask, what was our first inkling? It's when the vote in the suburban collar counties that we talked about so much around Philadelphia, Bucks County, Montgomery County, Macomb County.
I saw enormous numbers of young women who are out canvassing, who are pushing. I think they're registering to vote at record numbers. I think this may be a hidden vote in a sense. It won't be hidden after tomorrow, but it'll be unanticipated.
It won't be hidden after tomorrow because it's either still hidden, non-existent, a phantom vote that wasn't there. There was no hidden Kamala vote with Republican women.
In certain quarters. And I do believe also that there's a much more hopeful approach from the Democrats and extraordinarily, absolutely extraordinarily, we have had about 200 major Republican national security officials who have all gone out publicly, including the former Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, and Liz Cheney, his daughter.
I am proudly casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris.
But generals, General Milley, General Kelly, others, saying, do not let this man be president again. He is dangerous, he is reckless, he is disrespectful of veterans. And I think that message, hopefully, will also sink in. This is a critical election for the United States of
Didn't sink in at all.
America. Years ago, Ben Franklin warned everybody in answer to a woman who said, what do we have, a monarchy or a republic? And he said, a republic if you can keep it. This is America's can we keep it election.
Make America great again.
And I can't think of anything in my lifetime that's been more important than what we're looking at right now.
Okay, well, we'll wait to see what the voters decide. Former U.S. Secretary of State and former Democratic candidate for President John Kerry, thanks for joining us.
We have no choice.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, we'll get to a brief clip of John Kerry reacting to Trump winning, but I'm going to show, because they're related, this clip of him when he was a senator in 2009 making a climate-related prediction.
In 5 years, scientists predict we will have the first ice-free Arctic summer. That exposes more ocean to sunlight. Ocean is dark. It consumes more of the heat from the sunlight, which then accelerates the rate of the melting and warming rather than the ice sheet and the snow that used to reflect it back up into the atmosphere. I
actually like talking with hand gestures, so whatever, but did you ever watch the movie Inconvenient Truth? They showed us that in school. It basically scared everybody. It's like the world is ending. That was made by another Democratic presidential candidate, Al Gore, but all that stuff, like, again, when I was a kid, I was just watching that. I was like maybe 8 when they showed us that. Just watching it like, wow, the world's gonna end. That's like a pretty destructive thing to show people. You better be correct on that if you're going to show that to people. Okay, now here's a clip from John Kerry talking about what President Trump may do in his second term. This is shortly after the election.
Sum things up. You will see a series of executive orders issued on day one. I hope one of those orders will not include pulling out of the Paris Agreement, but it probably will. And there's really no good reason to be doing that.
Item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty. We're going to save over $1 trillion by withdrawing from that treaty.
As the chairman of ExxonMobil said from Baku the other day.
Look, I want the environment to be great. Trump's talked about that as well. Just, do you have to fund all these massive organizations to get there? I mean, how much good is that doing? I don't know. One more video, because I want to make one more point on the climate thing. This video was posted at the end of November. of 2024, so post-election.
So I think personally we're on the brink of needing to declare a climate emergency, which is what we really have. And we need to get people to behave as if this really is a major transitional challenge to the whole planet, to everybody. People.
Look, when I hear people talking like that, especially when they're wealthy, about the environment, I think if you're not donating literally 99% of your net worth, if you fly private one time in your life, then you can't talk like this. If you're going to be someone that's going to give basically all your money toward climate science or whatever you want to do, some type of research, then I guess I'll listen to this. But short of that, you can't say this. You can't tell average people working paycheck to paycheck to treat this like an emergency if you're not willing to. And I literally mean 99%. Essentially all your money, just keep enough to get through like the basic necessities of life. Then you can say it's an emergency, and I guess I'll like at least take you seriously or at least listen. Short of that, forget it. So with that said, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.